Welcome to John Gets Games, where today I'll be introducing you to Kiwi Chow. In this video, I'll be giving you a brief idea of how this game plays, and you can learn more details about it by watching my tutorial, where I teach all of the rules while the game is being played, and you can find a link to that tutorial in the description of this video. Now, Kiwi Chow is a 1 to 4 player game that takes about 90 minutes to play, and in it, each player is in control of a flock of kiwi birds, and everyone is on the same island trying to dominate as many regions as they can. Now, this is effectively a area control game with a few things going on. In particular, when you are going through the game's 4 seasons, you're going to play out cards that show actions on them. One of these actions lets you move kiwis around, and when you move the larger kiwis, because they can come in 3 different sizes, you can actually bump kiwi of smaller sizes into adjacent regions or entirely off the island if you position things well. Now, you can bump any kiwis, including your own, as long as they are smaller. So this leads to combo opportunities where you can move a large kiwi of yours to bump an opponent and maybe one of your other kiwis, and then move that kiwi you just bumped to get it into yet another region. So you can really reach far when you're doing these things, and you can also spend extra food to get extra movement. So having a lot of food around is a good idea. Now, I mentioned that these kiwis come in different sizes, and another action involves feeding a kiwi by spending food. Now, you can feed your own kiwi or your opponent, and then you stack another token on top to make that kiwi larger, which of course means it can bump other kiwis around when it moves. Now, I did say you can stack on your opponents to feed them, and when you do that, you're obviously helping your opponent, but you also get a bigger bonus in getting these region tokens out of a bag than when you feed your own. Now, these kiwis can only be a certain size, and if you ever feed a size 3 kiwi, instead of making it bigger, it is going to explode and then move all kiwis from that area into adjacent spots, and of course, the exploded kiwi is removed from the map. So sometimes you might feed your opponent's size 3 kiwi just to get it out of the way and really change the makeup of the majorities in all of the adjacent hexes. Now, there's one last action you can do in this game, and that involves building permanent nests out onto the board. You have to spend food to do this, and these will give you ongoing benefits at the start of each of the rounds, and sometimes in-round benefits, increasing your control in that specific area, depending on which of those nests you built. One of them even gives you an extra victory point at the end of the game. So as you're playing through this game, you are trying to balance out feeding your kiwis as well as your opponents when the time is right, and you also need to move your kiwis around into the best positions, because once per season, you can actually score region spots. The way this works is you have taken these little terrain tokens and you've kept them hidden from your opponents, and they show a specific terrain type on the back. If you have a majority of your kiwis in a region of that type, you can place that down onto the board, and that is going to be worth 1 victory point to you at the end of the game. The game is going to be over after you go through 4 full seasons, and in that 4th season, you can actually place as many of these domain token downs as you can. So the game really comes to a head right at the end of the game, where you're trying to make sure that all of these hidden tokens in front of you can be placed onto legal spots, as of course your opponents are also doing the same thing, probably trying to vie for the same locations on the board. Now, the player who has the most victory points will be the winner, and the vast majority of points that you get will come from those domain tokens. So at the end of the day, this game is really all about trying to occupy the best terrain spots on the board that match up with the tokens that you have, while of course trying to have a food income so that you can feed your kiwis to make them bigger, to bump your opponents out, as well as build those nests and get extra movements. So all of these things work together in tandem in this area majority game, and again, I will describe the details of how all of this works in the tutorial video that I made, and if you are intrigued by what you've heard so far, then please check that tutorial out. There is a link to it in the description of this video.